I remember that night all too vividly, how the silence of the city swallowed every footstep I took. I was alone, deep in thought, sitting in a dimly lit room that barely held back the encroaching shadows. My mind was heavy with the images of the latest atrocity. Another mutant, another life brutally taken. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was the 8th mutant murder that week, and the pattern was unmistakable. The victims were vulnerable, weak, those who could hardly defend themselves. I'd examined the scene myself, just a series of precise, cruel knife marks on flesh. No signs of a struggle, no obvious evidence left behind. Whoever was behind this had a singular, devastating purpose. I left the scene, the weight of the horror etched into my every step, and wandered the deserted streets. The city, once pulsing with life, was now a husk of echoes and shadows. Mutants like me, once unafraid to walk under the open sky, had been forced into hiding by relentless government oppression and these horrifying acts of violence. Each echo of my footfall reminded me of how isolated we had become, a community in exile. After what felt like an eternity wandering in the cold night, I finally reached my safe house, a haven in a world that no longer offered any refuge. I sank onto the couch, my eyes drawn to the scattered newspapers on the table, their headlines screaming of government crackdowns and unsolved mysteries. That was when my phone rang, a sharp intrusion into the heavy silence that clung to me. I answered, expecting nothing more than the usual static or perhaps a wrong number, but what I heard next sent a chill down my spine. A mysterious voice spoke, urgent and clipped. Before I could even ask who he was, the man on the other end rattled off details that were both alarming and unbelievable. He claimed to work in a secret government-supported research lab, a place where they experimented on humans to create perfect mutant hunters. The subject of his report? A man known as Michael Myers. According to him, Michael had escaped from the lab a month ago. The voice described how Michael had been injected with a serum derived from mutants, a serum that granted him superhuman strength, an almost unbreakable durability, and a healing ability that defied logic. The government was in hot pursuit, and they planned to harness his abilities to produce a super soldier serum. A serum that, if perfected, would spell doom for mutants everywhere. Before the voice could elaborate further, he issued an ultimatum: find and kill Michael Myers before the government could harness his power. The stakes were colossal. Thousands of innocent mutants hung in the balance. The call ended abruptly, leaving me with a gnawing uncertainty. Mere minutes later, a text message buzzed on my phone. It contained an approximate location, a tracking pin, indicating Michael's last known whereabouts. The sender warned me, in no uncertain terms, to keep the location a secret. They'd covertly placed a tracking device on him. I sat there, the weight of the decision crushing me. Trusting an unknown caller was a risk, a trap maybe. I'd seen too many of my friends, even legends like Professor X, fall into traps set by those who claimed to act in our best interests. But the situation was dire. If Michael Myers was indeed out there, enhanced by a serum that could make him nearly invincible, then every moment I hesitated might bring us closer to another massacre. I made my decision swiftly, fueled by the relentless desire for retribution and the hope of saving countless lives. The night was my ally, the cover of darkness a shield against prying eyes. I gathered my gear, steeling myself for what lay ahead, and set off towards the location provided by the mysterious informant. The drive was a blur of dark highways and abandoned byways until I finally reached the area, a forgotten part of the city where time had stalled. There, looming against the night sky, was a large, decrepit warehouse. Its broken windows and sagging roof whispered secrets of a forgotten era. Yet tonight it pulsed with the promise of confrontation. I parked a safe distance away, took a deep breath, and surveyed the surroundings. Every rustle of wind, every creak of metal, made my senses heighten. I needed to be sure it was safe. I needed to be sure that this was not yet another trap. Once I was convinced that the immediate area was clear, I started walking slowly towards the building. The silence was nearly deafening, each step echoing off the cold, hard pavement. My mind was a tempest of thoughts, of revenge for the slain mutants, of anger at a government so willing to sacrifice its own, and of a grim determination to stop Michael Myers before he could become the harbinger of further destruction. Every instinct in my body screamed that danger was near, yet I pressed on. The dark corners of the warehouse's facade loomed ahead, like the maw of some monstrous beast, waiting to swallow me whole. As I reached the massive, rusted door, I paused for a final moment, the weight of the night bearing down on me. I knew that beyond that door lay the unknown, the man they called Michael Myers, the creation of twisted experiments, and the potential catalyst for a catastrophe that would cost innocent mutant lives. With no turning back, and with the silent oath to protect those who could not protect themselves, I pushed the door open. I stepped into the darkness of the abandoned warehouse, alone in the night. My mind set on finding and ending the threat before it could claim another victim. I remember the chill that crept up my spine as soon as I stepped into that abandoned warehouse. The oppressive darkness was pierced only by the faint glimmer of moonlight filtering through broken windows, and I could almost taste the rancor of evil in the stale air. It didn't take long for my instincts to alert me. There was something here, something far more sinister than the usual scum I'd encountered. I wasn't wrong. The presence was unmistakable, and in a heartbeat, I knew that the evil that had been stalking the mutants was right in front of me. Michael Myers. I tightened my grip on my weapons and unsheathed my adamantium claws. Every nerve in my body screamed caution as I advanced slowly, my eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. My heightened senses confirmed it. An alien, malignant force was lurking nearby, and it was waiting. Then it happened. Out of the darkness, like a specter emerging from a nightmare, Michael Myers appeared. For a split second, we stood there, locked in a silent, deadly gaze. I could see the twisted glint in his eyes, a look that told me he was no ordinary foe. This was a man twisted by experiments, transformed into something monstrous. The air between us crackled with tension, and I knew it was time. Time to fight for every life lost and every friend captured by those heartless government hands. Without a moment's hesitation, I charged. I ran full tilt, letting the rage inside me propel every step as I lunged at Michael, determined to end his reign of terror. I slammed into him with all my might, the impact reverberating through the concrete floor. He fell hard, and I didn't waste a beat. I grabbed him roughly, tossing him against the far wall. The force of my blow left him reeling, and I could see a momentary flicker of surprise in his eyes. But Michael was nothing if not resilient. Even as I pressed the attack, the monster within him began to stir. I pressed forward, every strike fueled by the memory of the slain mutants and the endless list of injustices I'd witnessed. I advanced slowly, deliberately, each step a promise of retribution. I wasn't going to kill him quickly. No, I was going to make him suffer. Let him feel even a fraction of the agony he'd inflicted on others. As I prepared to land another punishing blow, Michael sprang up from a collapsed wall, his movements shockingly swift. In a blur, He dodged my punch and retaliated with a savage jab to my jaw. The impact sent me stumbling back, but I refused to yield. I chuckled a raw, grim laugh that echoed through the cavernous space and regained my footing. The thrill of the fight only stoked my determination. I unsheathed my claws once more, and in a flurry of calculated strikes, I attacked him again. His defense was feeble, relying on a serrated knife to parry my blows, but it wasn't enough. My adamantium claws met flesh and metal alike, raking across him with each furious slash. Blow after blow, I drove him back until a powerful kick sent him crashing against the wall once more, his body crumpling and seeming to betray the life within him. For a fleeting moment, I allowed myself a brief sense of victory. I thought I'd finally put an end to this nightmare. I stepped back, my chest heaving, and began to make my way to the exit. That's when I heard it, the unmistakable sound of voices. I turned to see Michael, still barely clinging to life, standing up as if nothing had happened. He wasn't breathing, I thought. I'd seen death's mark on him. But now, impossibly, he was back, lurching forward with renewed menace. The realization hit me like a sucker punch. I'd underestimated him. The monster wasn't finished yet. With a guttural roar, Michael launched himself at me. I dodged his desperate attack with my reflexes honed over countless battles and countered with a savage thrust of my claws. Blow after blow, I pounded him into submission, channeling every ounce of my fury. I knew what I had to do next. This creature needed to be stopped for good. I steeled myself and fought on, landing brutal strikes that left him back. Finally, I saw the opening I needed. With a burst of raw power, I focused every ounce of strength into one decisive strike. My adamantium claws flashed as I decapitated him in one swift, brutal motion. His head separated from his body, and the sound echoed like a death knell through the desolate warehouse. Michael Myers' body crumpled to the floor, lifeless at last. I wasn't done yet. To make damn sure that this evil would haunt no more nightmares, I dragged a container of gasoline from my car and doused the corpse. Striking a match, I watched with grim satisfaction as the flames leaped up, consuming Michael's remains, reducing him to ashes. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about preventing any future horrors from this monstrous experiment. But as the fire died down and the echoes of the inferno faded, another thought gnawed at me. The words of the mysterious man on the phone came back to me, a haunting reminder that my fight was far from over. There were friends, my friends, held captive in secret military facilities. Loved ones, innocent mutants caught in the crossfire of a government gone mad. I couldn't rest until I freed them from their prison of oppression. With Michael Myers' threat extinguished, I didn't linger. I strode out of the warehouse, leaving behind the smoldering ashes of a nightmare. I climbed back into my car, my mind already racing through the next steps. There was no time to waste. Every second counted. The city was steeped in darkness, not just in the absence of light, but in the cold grip of tyranny that had stolen so many lives. As I drove away into the night, the mission ahead burned as brightly as the flames I'd left behind. My resolve was hardened by the brutality of the encounter, and my heart pulsed with the need to rescue those who had been taken, my friends and loved ones, caught in the relentless grip of the secret military facilities. The road ahead was fraught with peril, but I wasn't going to let fear or uncertainty slow me down. Every mile was a step towards reclaiming freedom, every turn a move against the oppressive forces that sought to control us. With the taste of vengeance still bitter on my tongue, I set my sights on the next chapter of this fight, A mission that would take me deep into enemy territory, where the true face of cruelty lurked behind locked doors and cold steel. And so, with the ghost of Michael Myers burned into my memory and the weight of duty guiding me, I hit the accelerator and sped into the night. There was no turning back now. My journey to free my comrades from their unjust imprisonment had begun.